Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're unpacking a truly monumental and frankly fascinating shift in global military dynamics. For decades, India has been known mostly as one of the world's absolute largest importers of defense equipment. But right now, we're witnessing a massive structural pivot. In this explainer, we're going strictly by the data and verified sources to see exactly how India is rapidly transforming from a heavy importer into a domestic manufacturing powerhouse, a move deliberately designed to build what we're calling the sovereign shield.
To map this all out, here's our roadmap. We'll start with the dramatic import drop, then look at how domestic production is being driven. From there, we'll track the pivot from buyer to global supplier, unpack the very real screwdriver-Giri challenge, and finally, look at what it takes to secure true strategic autonomy.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the dramatic import drop.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the shift we're talking about. We've got a highly verified and honestly a striking statistical drop right here. Back in fiscal year 2019, nearly half, 49%, of all capital defense spending in India went straight to foreign procurement. Fast forward just a few years to fiscal 2025, and that number has absolutely plummeted to just 12%. I mean, going from nearly half to 12%, that is a massive drop in foreign dependency in a remarkably short time frame. So you have to ask, how exactly did they pull this off?
That brings us to Section 2, foreseen domestic production. Because look, that 12% reality, it didn't just happen thanks to gentle market forces. It was driven by deliberate, aggressive legislative catalysts. The main engine here is the Atmanirbhar Bharat program. And why does this matter on a global scale? Well, it fundamentally alters geopolitical power dynamics when a major nation decides to stop relying on others to arm itself. The policy uses progressive import embargoes on military hardware. In plain terms, the government is essentially saying we're no longer buying these specific items from abroad, period. So we have to build them here. It's a mechanism explicitly designed to force the creation of sovereign domestic capabilities. The primary tools they're using for these embargoes are what they call Positive Indigenisation Lists. Let's look at just the most recent one, the 6th list alone, which was notified for August 2026. This isn't just a basic list of nuts and bolts. We're talking about 405 strategically important items across air, land, naval, and electronics domains. It covers critical subassemblies and spares for major platforms. Think the Su-30 MKI, the Tejas fighter, T-72 and T-90 tanks, and even warships. All in all, this creates a business potential of a staggering 3,070 crore rupees. And the mandate is crystal clear. Once these are indigenized, they must be procured locally. This is kicking the doors wide open for defense public sector undertakings, private firms, MSMEs, and dynamic new startups.
But as we all know, a mandate only works if there's money behind it, right? So for the fiscal year 25-26, nearly 80% of the capital acquisition budget is legally ring-fenced for domestic indigenization. Think about that for a second. 80% of the funds are locked in and can only be spent on local Indian companies. With capital contracts worth 1.82 lakh crore rupees already signed, this ring-fencing ensures absolutely predictable demand. It gives Indian firms a solid financial confidence they actually need to invest in massive capacity expansion and real, tangible innovation.
And to make sure all that money flows efficiently, they're clearing out the old administrative roadblocks. The Defense Procurement Manual 2025 has actively streamlined procedures. They've simplified the licensing process, and really importantly, they've relaxed the penalties for indigenization delays. Let's be real. Building complex military hardware from scratch takes a lot of time. By easing these penalties, the government is deliberately lowering the risk to encourage much greater private sector participation. Moving right along to Section 3, from buyer to supplier. Because the most fascinating outcome of all these internal policies is actually what's happening outside of India's borders. Let's just pause on this number for a second. 38,000 crore rupees. As local manufacturing capacity has scaled up, India's defense exports have surged multifold to hit this record annual high. This statistic firmly marks the transition. India isn't just a buyer anymore. It has officially arrived as a highly credible supplier in the global defense market. And they aren't just exporting basic ammunition either. Indian defense systems are now reaching more than 80 countries worldwide.
The catalog includes highly advanced hardware. We're seeing missiles, state-of-the-art radars, complex electronic warfare equipment, and even naval platforms being shipped out. This proves that the domestic capacity being built is actually meeting strict global standards. And frankly, that is a staggering leap in capability.
Naturally, the financial markets have been paying very close attention to this whole manufacturing and export boom. Defense stocks have rallied massively. You've got companies like Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, GRSE, Paras Defense, and Zen Technologies seeing huge surges in investor confidence. The market is effectively validating the real-world scale of this major industrial transition.
But it's not all perfectly smooth sailing, which brings us to Section 4, the Screwdriver Gari Challenge. As any good analyst knows, we have to look right beneath those surface numbers to investigate the nuanced realities of what indigenization actually means right now. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the term critics often use for the current indigenization drive. It's a rather brilliant, if a bit cheeky, colloquial term, screwdriver giri. It basically means importing foreign kits or sub-assemblies and literally just turning the screwdriver in India. While this is absolutely a necessary first step to build industrial muscle, it definitely stretches the definition of true indigenous production. It keeps the supply chain somewhat tethered to foreign nations. So this creates a stark contrast that the industry really has to navigate. On one side, you have superficial assembly. Sure, it brings immediate local jobs and boosts those stats we talked about, but it remains heavily reliant on imported kits and licensed manufacturing. On the other side is genuine innovation. True indigenization requires moving way beyond just assembling things. It requires deep, component-level research and development. And right now, as the data shows, that deeper R&D ecosystem in India is still very much evolving. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Securing True Strategic Autonomy. So how does the nation actually bridge this massive gap between today's administrative successes and tomorrow's complete technological independence? Let's take a look at where things stand right now. On the success side, platforms like the SRIJN Defense Portal have been incredibly effective. Over 33,000 items were offered up for indigenization, and over 15,700 have been successfully developed. That resulted in a massive 9,000 crore rupees in import substitution. The demand for local industry is highly predictable now. But against those successes, the reality of defining true indigenization is still tricky. Component-level R&D takes years and years to mature. And crucially, despite that amazing 12% drop in overall capital imports, landmark big-ticket foreign acquisitions, like advanced fighter jets or submarines, are still continuing. This proves that for the absolute highest-end tech, a level of dependency definitely remains. So, the crucial point we are left with is this complex balancing act. India's trajectory is undeniable. The policies, the budgets, and the exports are all pointing aggressively toward domestic capability. But the ultimate question remains: how will India balance the immediate, pressing need for advanced, big-ticket foreign hardware with its long-term goal of deep, genuine technological self-reliance? It is a fascinating transition from assembly to true innovation, and it's absolutely one we will be keeping a close eye on.